but of course, feel free to raise your hand or write in the chat if you have any question at a certain point. So here the agenda of today, the welcome and the introduction, and here we are. And then Tamara Desvert from IMEC will guide us to what are the principles of AI and how cities can use AI for better service delivery.
I don't have the right to share. You have, it's in the middle, the green button.
Sorry, can I ask everyone to mute? Thank you so much. So how cities can use AI for their services and improve the lives of their communities. And then we will go through three case studies from Eindhoven, who will be presented by Lotte Gertsen. From Common Urban Living Lab, Dimitri Schurman will showcase us that case study. And last but not least, the case study of Gate City Living Lab. And we will hear more from Kaloyan Karamitov. And of course, we have some time allocated at the end for questions and answers. But I repeat, if you have any question during the discussion, just raise your hand or write it in the chat. Before leaving the floor to Tamara, let me just add a bit of context, as in the room there are signatories of Living-in.EU, but there are also externals. So Living-in.EU is a collaborative European movement that brings together cities, regions, and member states, all working towards the digital and green transitions that benefit people and places. The Education and Capacity Building Working Group focuses on how helping local authorities build the skills and confidence they need to lead this transformation. And that's the reason why we are here today. So we want to really demystify AI, explain the basics in a clear and accessible way, and showcase inspiring real-life examples from peers in the field. So I conclude here my introduction, and I'm happy to leave the floor to Tamara Desvert from IMEC. Thank you so much, Tamara. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Yes, so hopefully. Okay. I'm ready. Yes. So welcome everybody. I'm pleased to be here to give a presentation on or an introduction in AI for smart cities. My name is Tamara Desvert. I'm from IMEC, part of the AI department, so not the hardware chip department, but the AI angle of the company, or the RTO. But I'm also a project coordinator for Sitcom.ai, which is the test and experimentation facility for smart cities and communities. So just to make sure that everybody understands the context of why we are here, I just wanted to show a few introduction slides. As you can see here, we are part of a larger ecosystem, which is initiated from the European AI Office with several initiatives around smart cities, where you can see that Sitcom is our testing and experimentation facility for AI. It envisioned the establishment of a permanent facility or a permanent network of facilities for real-world testing of AI applications. It's a 5-year project. We are halfway, and it's a collaboration of more than 30 partners in 11 countries. Originally, we were not the coordinator, but we took that over from our Danish colleagues in the beginning of this year. So what's the scope? The scope of the project is actually to accelerate the adoption of AI through experimentation to bring the technology from what we call technology readiness level 6 to 9. So that basically means that we start from a prototype. That's our starting point. So we are not a research facility, or we do not establish research facilities. We really establish facilities to test AI in real life. And throughout my presentation, it hopefully will become clear why that is so important. It's also a very strong focus, because we are not a research lab, of facilities to collaborate with companies. And as you can see here, we have different constellations, but collaboration with companies to increase the solutions, trustworthy solutions that are available for cities. That is one of the main goals. So more than 30 partners, as you can see here, spread throughout Europe. So it's a network that also knowledge sharing is a very important element of the project. It's also part of a bigger initiative. Sitcom is one of the 4 TEFs. There's also one in agri-food, in industry, and in health. And there's even also now one in energy. So the TEF concept is broader than only for cities, and it's also a very important investment from the European Commission, which also makes it clear that testing and experimentation for trustworthy AI solutions is really very important on a European level moving forward. So if we look at AI in smart cities, then there are a number of challenges to begin with. And I'm first going to guide everybody through those. So in the public sector in general, so not only for cities, there are a number of challenges that need to be tackled to really see a significant increase in AI. First of all, data-related challenges, technical and infrastructure barriers, regulatory and ethical issues, economic and resource constraints, public trust and engagement, and environmental and sustainability concerns. Now, if you go through them, I will try to explain them a little bit deeper. So data-related challenges. So everybody knows that AI needs a lot of data. But in cities, that data is not always available. It's often there, but as departments operate very independently, it makes data sharing difficult, and it makes data available in silos. Usually different departments don't even know from each other that certain data is available. Also, the quality and the availability of the data is not always there. It's incomplete, it's outdated, it's biased, which can hinder AI performance or even make it impossible to create. If we then go look for new data, so data collection, through installation of new sensors or to new technology that wants to be introduced in the city, that's often a very cumbersome process. It's not that easy for providers to access the city environment. And of course, last but not least, there are a lot of data privacy concerns, especially when we move in to the direction of camera footage, for example, which is very much linked to personal data. There's a lot of ethical and legal issues that are causing cities to be very reluctant in sharing data or even being involved in those type of projects. Another barrier that we see is more on the level of technical barriers and infrastructure. So legacy systems in many cities, there is still outdated infrastructure which doesn't really is compatible with modern AI systems. So there is training data that is needed, which is often just a data dump, but also when operating AI systems operationally, there needs to be a constant feed in data, which is not always available from an IT perspective in cities, and quite an interesting or a high investment is required. Scalability, what we also see not only in cities, but actually everywhere, is a lot of AI is still in pilot phases and also has very much difficulty in going from a pilot phase into an actual operational phase. This is a very common problem or barrier in AI adoption. And then, of course, there's also the cybersecurity risk. AI systems can be very vulnerable to attack. And there needs to be quite some checks to be done to be able to overcome those issues. And then a third number of or group of challenges has to do with regulatory and ethical issues. There is at this moment not a universal framework of AI governance in urban environments. So what is trustworthy AI? That's a question that a lot of cities ask. We want AI to be trustworthy, but how do you measure trustworthiness of AI? There is not a governance framework available. Also, bias and fairness, AI systems can unintentionally reinforce social inequalities. That's also a very difficult topic because what is bias? An AI system also often makes a choice, and it does make the choice based on certain assumptions or programmable features, but it's not always a black and white decision what is good and what is bad. So the principle of bias and fairness is also very much up to personal interpretation at this moment. And then, of course, there's the transparency. Black box AI models, especially if you look at the area of generative AI, those type of models make decisions, and they're decisions which are very hard to explain and audit, which does not necessarily need to be a problem, but if you look at it from a policy perspective, it's not that easy to work with. So, and then challenges on the level of economic and resource constraints. So yeah, AI development and AI implementation can be quite costly, especially if you also need to gather data, install sensors, etc., etc. It can be quite a big investment to do, and you don't only need to invest in tools, digital tools and physical tools, but you also need to invest in talent. And the lack of expertise is often also a very difficult element when it comes to increasing the AI adoption in smart cities, because you need to develop the talent, but you also need to make sure that those AI systems can be maintained over time. So that is also quite a struggle. And then finally, there's also the public trust and engagement. There is a lot of resistance to change. Citizens and police are very skeptical and fearful that AI will replace their jobs or it will invade privacy. We recently installed sensors in a city, and especially online on social media, there was a lot of feedback on that from citizens on whether or not it was a camera, whether or not their privacy would be invaded. So it is still a very difficult issue to tackle the public opinion on data collection for AI. And that's also linked to indeed that awareness. There needs to be very proper communication with the citizens and the authorities to make sure that everybody understands the benefits, but also the limitations of AI. And then my final bucket of concerns and challenges has to do with energy consumption and sustainable deployment, because on the one hand, we need to make sure that the AI solutions that are being deployed are actually contributing to the city emissions and the long-term sustainability goals of the cities, so that they actually are being deployed with a purpose. On the other hand, we cannot forget that AI at this moment has a very high carbon footprint. That's not really something that is known by a lot of people, but at this moment, the entire industry of AI is a carbon footprint that equals Japan. So that's the entire amount of energy consumption that is at this moment being consumed by AI, which is usually running in the cloud. And that footprint is even increasing every day. So these were the challenges, or an overview of the challenges of AI adoption in smart cities. But a lot of the elements that I touched upon actually are broader than only smart cities. But especially also in Sitcom, we try to do something about that, or at least help. We don't have an answer to everything, but I try to list a few things that we are doing in the project to help overcome some of those challenges. And the first concept that I would like to discuss is the concept of transfer learning for urban predictions. And hopefully will also help you understand a little bit more how AI actually works. So for example, the city of Mechelen is a small to medium-sized city, like most of the cities in the world. They have 90,000 inhabitants and they want to become a smart city, but they lack extensive data. And here, transfer learning might have a very transformative potential as it tries to analyze whether or not we can make predictions for a city based on pre-trained models from other cities, right? So that basically would mean that at this moment, we see a lot of pilots happening in different cities, but there is not that much effort being done yet in really transferring those results to other cities so that they can benefit from it as well. So how does it then work? In traditional machine learning, we have data points, train a model, and we make prediction. We have other data points in another city, for example, we train a model and we make predictions. In transfer learning, we do it differently. We take the data from one model and we transfer that knowledge from that model to the second city, where we use additional data that is available there. Now, what is the advantage of that? So in total, you need less data that is required in this second city. So it enables you to don't start from scratch, but to start from a pre-trained model that is already there, that enables you to much faster be up and running, because you have to install much less sensors and you also don't have to wait for the data. For example, if you install sensors and you need a year of data, then you need to wait for a year before you can actually start training your model. With this approach, you already have a starting point. So you can deploy your AI solution and test your AI solutions much faster. And secondly, also this, because you use data from different cities, it gives you a higher accuracy even of the model. So it has the potential to make your models not only transferable, but even better in the long run. For example, one of the experiments that is being done in Sitcom is transfer learning for traffic state predictions. So we use traffic data from one city and we transfer the weights towards another city to make those traffic predictions over there. Of course, it's not that easy because not every city looks the same, right? Every city has a different structure. So this, from a research perspective and an AI modeling perspective, this is quite a complex problem to resolve. But it has a potential to be quite transformative, especially when it comes to scalability of AI towards smaller cities. Of course, what is also a problem or an issue here, it is the data sharing, because you have sensors that give you, here, for example, we worked with traffic counts, but you see that those counts are all different, right? You see that some of them only have one number. Some of them make a distinction between bicycle, person, and vehicle. Here we have even more. So the compatibility of the data is a challenge, especially if you are going to use data from multiple cities, multiple census providers, etc., etc. So here there's an important link towards, in this case, the mobility data space, but in general to all data spaces, depending on the problem that you're tackling, of aligning the data structuring it in the same way so that you can basically train models with data from different cities to come to one pre-trained model, which can then be more easily deployed in multiple cities. So how can transfer learning and data spaces increase AI adoption? By using those pre-trained models, it enables faster and cost-effective AI implementation and even improves the prediction accuracy of the urban prediction that we are working on. So here you see that basically transfer learning resolves a number of the challenges that resolves is maybe a big word, but at least it's a very important step in the right direction of solving a number of the challenges that are currently available in those mainly smaller cities. Another example that I wanted to talk about is AI models running at the edge. Edge computing is a very important trend for smart cities. What does it mean? It actually means that the model is not running in the cloud, but is running on the device, which means that the data which is collected by the sensor is not sent to the cloud, stays on the device, and the actual modeling happens there. Why is that important? Because, of course, that solution is more privacy safe. Personal data does not leave the device. It's also more energy efficient, as you don't have to, a lot of the energy consumption in AI, almost studies show that 60% of the energy consumption in AI has to do with transferring data, not only from the device to the cloud, but also within the data center, within chips, etc. The more you can keep the data at the same spot, the better for your energy efficiency. And at the same time, it also gives a lot of new possibilities when it comes to being extremely connected with each other. And then we move into the direction of agentic AI. For example, IMEC has created an edge lab, a testbed for AI inference benchmarking at the edge. So there is AI training and there is AI inference. AI training means that you train your model. AI inference means that you're actually running this model operationally in real life environments like within sitcom. So this is a very typical example of the type of experiments that we are conducting in a test and experimentation facility, where we have all kinds of sensors available, all kinds of hardware, wireless communication protocols, and where we then can evaluate how your model that you're currently running in the cloud would actually perform at the edge, which gives over time a number of advantages for cities. And the third example that I wanted to show of where sitcom could provide an important advantage towards AI adoption is the AI regulatory sandbox. So AI regulatory sandbox is a concept that is described in the AI Act. It will become mandatory in next year, I think. Each country needs to set up an AI regulatory sandbox framework. What is it for? It basically is, the concept is intended to foster innovation. It allows experimentation with new and innovative solutions under supervision of a regulator for a limited period of time. Why? Why is it important? For two things: to foster learning from a business and a technical perspective. And here the TEF is a perfect example of how you can first test and basically enter the barriers for startups so that they can experiment. And it also supports regulatory learning, because that's the thing with innovation, of course, the policy side is not always aligned to the steps that technology is taking. So this regulatory sandbox concept that we are evaluating now in sitcom might be an important step to overcome the regulatory barriers available and basically reduce the reluctance of startups to implement certain innovations moving forward. One example is, for example, moving back to the Edge lab, where we talk about edge benchmarking. Yeah, if you want to benchmark your model at the edge, it's interesting to compare it to what's it doing in the cloud, for example, which is not the purpose of the solution in the long run, but in the short run, during experimentation time, this could be an interesting topic to tackle in an AI regulatory sandbox, because it would allow this type of experimentation for a certain period of time before we know what the actual benchmarking results are, before we can put it in production. Those type of contradictory situations could be resolved in such an AI regulatory sandbox concept for smart cities. So those were a few examples of what we can do or are doing in Sitcom. And my final part of the presentation is about the role of cities in AI testing and experimentation. So here, for example, is the test and experimentation facility in Mechelen, which is an example of an emerging city lab for AI experiments. So they defined for themselves a goal, like where do they want to concentrate their effort on, and in this case for them it's about bicycle traffic mainly. And they have done several initiatives to position themselves as a test and experimentation facility for AI innovations. As you see, there are several experiments ongoing. They did an open call. They are testing new technology for the first time, and they're even deploying certain demonstrators from new startups to test in real life conditions. So if we take Mechelen, but also the other cities in Sitcom all together, what are then the services that those test and experimentation facilities, from the perspective of cities, what do they offer? First of all, they offer access to the physical facility, which means access to the streets, the buildings, the urban city environment in general, by connecting to appropriate people, by finding test locations, by helping with citizen engagement, and maybe the most important one of all, by guiding innovators through the cumbersome administrative approval process, because that's, of course, one of the biggest hurdles and pain points for those innovators. So organizing yourself as a city to be an easy point of access and to helping innovators to access your urban environment in the broad sense is a very big advantage towards companies. A second point is the virtual facility access, which basically has to do with making available the data that we talked about in an easy and a flexible way. Making the sensor data available via easy-to-use APIs, and basically also helping innovators to unlock new data sources hidden in the complex city network. As I said, you need to organize yourself as a city to access and to hunt for the data that is hidden in all your different silos. And you also can facilitate interaction with other public authorities to gain access to various data to complement training and validation efforts. That basically means that, as I talked about transfer learning, you need sensor data from different cities. And in the project that I showed, the city of Mechelen really helped us to basically get the data from other cities in their network to combine it all together for one solution. The third important service from a city perspective is to facilitate innovators to discover new opportunities for co-creation. helping the project, helping to communicate about the project, bringing people together, organizing demonstrations to showcase your project, and connecting innovators with the city's partner network is also a very important reason why, or thing what innovators are looking for, especially because they also want to understand the needs of the city, which is something that I will touch upon later. And then service 4, very important also, is the compliance and ethics assistance. So once you then come to the point of that you really want to test in real life, then you need to make sure as a city, at a city, that it happens in a data privacy sensitive way with respect to the citizens, but at the same time, you also want to ensure a flexible approach to the regulation and a smooth process for data collection, to make sure that you have documents like GDPR regulation, the PIAS, ethics checks, etc., that you have those type of processes, standardized processes available. It really helps a lot in basically decreasing the time to experiment for an AI innovator to test out whether the AI solution aligns to the city needs. So cities have in AI experimentation a dual role. They have a service providing role, but they also are the potential end user of the solution. So they benefit directly from AI solutions that are being developed by those innovators. And they should also define the challenges that could be resolved with AI. Linked to the strategic urban goals and the city missions, that is still, I think, a very big opportunity for cities to increase the number of AI solutions that is being developed, to be more collaborative amongst each other in really defining where AI could really move the needle for cities. As a test and service provider, they need to make sure that they also offer the available access to their city, to their data, with a flexible approach to regulation, with respect for the citizens, to make sure that those solutions can actually be tested in real world and have the amount and the quality of the data that is needed to offer the best solution. And then finally, very important, I think, is that they should also coordinate the efforts through a network like Sitcom, for example, to avoid repeating similar pilots. And I think that that is something that is really happening at this moment, that we are doing the same thing in multiple cities, not only in one country, but especially throughout countries, which is something that is a bit unfortunate, I think. And also, if we could coordinate that better, then it would really even more speed up the AI value that can be delivered in cities, and especially through concepts like transfer learning, that we can even reuse or work towards pre-trained models, that we don't have to start from scratch, but that we can basically share the learning amongst each other. And that was it. So I don't know if there are any questions or.
Thank you, Tamara. I don't know if you have any question, just raise your hand or write it in the chat. We will also have 10 minutes at the end or even more. So in case you're thinking about it, we will come back to you later. And in the meantime, I'm happy to leave the floor to Lotte from Eindhoven to present the first case study of today. So Lotte, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Michelle, and thank you also, Tamara, for your presentation. On behalf of Maaike de Medbot, we are one of the innovators, so I definitely would have a few questions to you either during the webinar or later. But I figured let us first share what we have been doing in the last 3 years before we get into the conversation. My colleague Jessica She will point out the presentation now. Eindhoven Engine is an innovation accelerator in the bigger Brainport region, with the municipality of Eindhoven in the heart of the Brainport region. And Eindhoven Engine as innovation accelerator has 3 shareholders, being TNO, a Dutch knowledge institution, the Technical University of Eindhoven, and the Fontys Applied University in Eindhoven. And we combine technology, design, business, psychological, and creative solutions in order to be one of the innovators for smarter cities. Maaike, the Matchbot, is a result of tackling these complex challenges, those wicked problems of today that live in society, where technology could play a positive role or could be a very important enabler. AI could be an important enabler. And Maaike the Matchbot is one of our innovations that came out of this different way of tackling these complex challenges, and we tend to call them wicked problems. Luckily, I'm happy to introduce my colleagues for today, being Mieke.
Yes.
Yes.
Mieke
is Mieke is a strategic information advisor at the CIO office of the municipality of Eindhoven, and she's very committed to the digital transformation in the public sector. She also plays a pivotal role in shaping the municipality's strategic direction, and her current focus lies in aligning the municipal digital strategies with the evolving ambitions of the EU digital decade. And I'm happy to have Mieke here with us so that she can also explain why this is important for the city of Eindhoven. Later on, Jessica will take on and explain more about Maaike, but first the floor is to Mieke.
Yes, thank you, Lotte. We are connected with Eindhoven Engine by the topics you already mentioned, and it's from the perspective of the human-centric approach. We mostly think for our citizens, develop things for our citizens, and we have some participation steps in developing, but not in the way that it is used by Maaike the Matchbot. So that's for us a learning environment, how we can co-create with the citizens in an understanding way. And it creates together a better understanding of what is made and how it is made and how it's useful, prepared to the questions the citizens really have. So that's the connection to this use case from the municipality perspective. So I hope that that's clear for you all. If not, then I received questions.
Yes, thank you, Mieke, for explaining. And of course, the reason why we are here today with the 3 of us is so that if there are questions by the end of the presentation, you're happy to ask either one of us. We now go to Jessica. Jessica is a digital designer and researcher at Eindhoven Engine, and she's specialized in this human-centric approach of both social, technological, and a design way of taking innovation. And she will take you through Maaike the Matchbot as a real life application and use case.
So, hello. Let me just go back here. Yeah. So, I am presenting Maaike the Matchbot for you today. Our research has shown that only in Eindhoven City, we have more than 100 help organizations in different domains, as we can say, like the healthcare, the work and activities, or for instance, financial organizations eager to help people to find their ways and improve their skills in this specific domain. But we also figure out during our research that 80% of people that actually go to one of these locations in their first attempt, they end up in the wrong place. So we could see there is a huge mismatch problem there. And on top of that, of course, we also see this problem about basic skills. What is this problem of basic skills? Is people who actually lack the knowledge and the skills of reading, writing, numeracy, and digital skills. So if you have this lack, it's even worse and it's even more difficult to find the right support that you need. So during our research, we saw that it's not a lack of service, availability of service in the city, but it's a communication and access problem. And also, we saw that 1 out of 6 of people in the whole Netherlands, they have difficulties in express their issues. So they know that they have financial problems, but they don't know exactly how to express this and how to build this request for help. And of course, all of this set of problems, and there is a huge cost for the society. So it's more than 1.5 billion per year. And in these numbers, it's a combination of all different problems. So for instance, if someone needs help to find a job and they are unemployed, they also cannot pay taxes. Or for instance, they visit the doctor more often to understand, because they could not understand in the first appointment how to take the medicine. So this will bring more costs for the society. So based on that, what we saw, it's there is a lot of advancement on technology, as our colleague mentioned about AI and high tech. So what we create was an AI chatbot called Make. And the main goal of this solution is to connect people, citizens, to the right and suitable help they need in the first attempt. And why? As I mentioned, there is this mismatch problem. And of course, there is also this confusion and shame, because if you have this problem and you lack basic skills, you might not be able to express yourself and expose your problem. So you feel ashamed of that. And this is why we create Make It, an AI chatbot that is very friendly, conversation that you can have with her. And it also uses all the large language model capability to make the interaction very individualized. So it's not only based on keywords. Like if I mention in my conversation with Make It that I need a job, she will suggest a place to go to find a job. No, she will try to understand exactly if it's a job that you need or if it's something that you need to solve with your financial situation in your life. I'm just giving some examples just to show this. And we have it on WhatsApp. We build our prototype on WhatsApp. And why? Because 95% of our target group, they mention they use WhatsApp in their daily basis or at work. So we decided to build this AI agent using this interface, the WhatsApp, to be more friendly, to be a low threshold for them to find help. And it's also interesting that you don't need to go to a place or speak with a real person, because also this is something that might make them feel a bit ashamed of. You can just chat with Maike in your cell phone, and you don't need to talk with any real person. But then after Maike suggests a place to go, then you can be more comfortable and feel more you can feel that autonomy of taking charge of your life and talk with a real person to explain your problem, because Make helps you to elaborate your problem. So as I mentioned a little bit, why Make is unique is because it tries to give an effective navigation to all the help resources that we have available in Eindhoven, but also it's a combination between AI guidance and human expertise. So Make It doesn't suggest you steps of how to solve your problem, but she suggests you a place to go, and then a real person will help you to deal with your issues. It's also accessible for all. We are focused on people lacking basic skills, people who has difficulties in reading and writing, which means that it's easy applicable for all the citizens and high skilled citizens, or high educated, or all the citizens. And we also, something that is very unique here in Eindhoven Engine, in Eindhoven, we are constantly testing this product with real users and end users. We are validating Make the chatbot through iteration sessions. And one thing that they also mentioned is she listened without judge you. So you can ask the same question until you understand correctly what is the guidance, where you should go, or what exactly is the problem, which is a good point for Make. And of course, we are building the system to be very adaptive, easy, scalable, and it's very modular. As I mentioned, we are using the interface of WhatsApp, but this is modular. We can apply it in a different platform, of course. So this is why we are already building this to be applicable in different systems, and also to use different data sets. So right now we have this list of organizations and help resources in Eindhoven, only for the city of Eindhoven. But of course, we can change to different cities or cities from different countries because of this modularity. And this is our moonshot. What is our goal with Make It? As I mentioned, 8 out of 10 people goes to the wrong place in the first attempt. So our goal is to make only one person is missing the right support. Of course, our goal is to be 100%, but we know that all system has their own limitations. So we want to reach 90% of accuracy of this matching in the first time. So this is why we are doing validation constantly with stakeholders and social workers about the match, the solutions that Make is giving for the citizens. And we have a plan for the next 5 years for Make. So until July, we have been working in the first steps and to create a MVP, a minimal valuable product, with the most important features for Make. So for instance, Make can talk with you through text messages and also audio messages, and suggest a place to go based on the data set that we already have, this list of organizations. So we are validating this with end users. In the end of this year, we want to build trust and validation and be aligned with GDPR and all the AI constraints that we need to follow. In 3 years, we would like to have a market expansion. So we are also talking with some companies in Eindhoven, because this problem, it's not only in the macro level, if we can say like that, and the municipality level, but also inside companies. Usually the employees, they also face difficulties to find their ways and navigate through all the programs and help resources that inside companies they can provide to them. And we want to expand as well to other cities in the Netherlands. And in 5 years, our goal is to make a global impact, because not only in the Netherlands, but our research, we also find that there is different places that have the same problem. So we believe Makey can be adapted to different places as well and different domains. And this, I would like to show a bit of the team of doers that we call. So specifically in Make It the Matchbot, we have all these people working with us. So we have people to help us to understand our problem, this lacking of basic skills problem that we used to say it's a wicked problem. It's a complex problem that have different roots. So we have social designer. We also have user experience designer. We have our colleague Afie that also from the municipality of Eindhoven that has a close collaboration with us. And we work as well with people from the target group. So Carmi and Joshua, we used to say that they are basic skills experts. So they are people that actually living this struggle of being someone lacking basic skills, then they can also give a fresh perspective and unique perspective for the team. And this is Make It the Matchbot. Thank you very much. I hope I could show well what we are doing here. So thanks. If you have any questions.
Thank you, Jessica. Very nice presentation. So we have the hand raise. Please go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. This is Crisula Lenzo. I'm from HADEA, the Health and Digital Executive Agency of the European Commission. Very interesting presentation. And I'm very impressed by this chatbot and this initiative. I wanted, in fact, to focus on the lack of skills that you mentioned, and of course, since you have already identified the lack of writing skills, I was wondering in WhatsApp how this could be addressed, because indeed in this application, will you support the vocal messaging, for instance?
Yes. We have just implemented the audio feature, so people can just not texting make it, but also send audio message. And also make it will reply to you with audio message.
Excellent.
And to add on that, if you look at older studies of basic skills, reading, writing, numeracy, and digital skills, there is still a very strong belief that these people don't live with mobile phones and don't have smartphones. Actually, it is our experience from co-creating every step with people lacking basic skills that they actually do have a smartphone, and that they at least have one app on their phone, which is an app like WhatsApp, and that they use it on a daily basis through voice messages. So that's why it's not a separate app, but we want to integrate it in the one communication app they actually use, indeed, through voice. But at least for the case study in the Netherlands, it is the case that all of these adults, because we have experience with adults or people that turn 18, from 18 up until 40 plus, more than 90% of those people have a smartphone and use WhatsApp on a daily basis. That's actually their one communication channel they do have. But I don't know how that is for other cities, other countries. That would be, for that you need to go into the local cultural preferences of your city and or your country, of course.
Great, thank you. We also have a question for Tamara about her previous presentation. Maybe we can tackle it. So then of course, if you want to just unmute yourself, okay.
Yes, I thank you. I was surprised to hear that the size of what it takes to have AI on the cloud is the size of Japan. I'm not sure if you're the person to ask, because it seems like this is a bigger issue that maybe governments or even other leaders of the world are to tackle this. But are you aware of some actions taken to tackle this issue?
Well, it's actually the #1 priority for IMEC when it comes to AI, because of course it's really the solutions lie at the intersection of software and hardware. So what you see is, I have another presentation about that if you want to hear about that, but it's what you see is that at IMEC we create chips, right? And the whole plan always, or strategy has always been to double the throughput time of a chip every 2 years. And that's what we call Moore's law. And what you see is that with AI, the demand for AI for compute has exponentially grown, right? So that Moore's law is not able to follow anymore, right? So the demand for compute is outpacing the supply. At the same time, the chip that provides the compute is called a GPU. That's what NVIDIA is providing it, GPUs to do the AI compute. Those are not really getting a lot better anymore. So you see that the hardware is stagnating, and the demand for AI is continuously increasing, to the fact that one example that I always give also is that that Google is going to install a new data center, and they are going to put a nuclear plant next to that to be able to provide the energy that is needed to run the AI models. Now that the energy efficiency of AI throughout the full stack is the major question for the research industry moving forward. And IMEC is doing contributions on that, and the solution seems to be in the area where hardware and software becomes more intertwined. At this moment, you have an AI model and you have a GPU, and we just put it onto each other. And the solution lies in the fact that those two need to be more connected to each other, which is a very difficult exercise because it goes down to the use case. For each use case, there should be explicit or specific hardware, which is of course not available today. But that is the evolution moving forward. It is not to look at hardware and software as two separate things, but look at it from a more integrated aspect. Does that resolve the question?
Thank you so much. Yes, thank you.
Great, thank you. Yes, please.
I'm very curious, Tamara. My question is also to you. After listening to your presentation and us knowing that Mike the Matchbot is actually one of those innovators or one of these internal startups that actually want to have a positive impact on the city of Eindhoven, using being able to match the people with questions to the local services using the AI infrastructure and the Matchbot, and all the challenges that you explained. To what extent could we maybe learn from the Sitcom and the City Lab approach? Because we still need to all make all those strategic decisions and the right kind of infrastructure decisions we still need to make, and we want to make the right ones. To what extent could we maybe learn from the Sitcom and or the City Lab approach?
Well, actually, Mika might be able to help you over time, because Eindhoven is also part of the project, and they are really finding their spot. So, probably it will be possible, because there's the project is now halfway, and I don't know exactly where a specific case, but there are, I think that there's a lot of power in the network and the fact that there are so many parties together, working together, that are able to exchange thoughts. There's also a city working group within Sitcom, which is very interesting to, where I think you can present your case and ask for feedback. That's also something that that we did previously, letting the different city labs present to each other, and we called it Dragon's Dance, where then everybody could fire questions, which was a very interesting learning curve, I think.
Oh yeah, that will be very interesting for us, because we want to go from the pilot phase to the actually having a positive impact for cities. Yeah,
absolutely.
Thank you.
Great. I love to hear this exchange.
Yeah.
Dimitri Schurman from ENoLL and IMEC, both representing both organizations. The floor is yours.
Yes, thank you. And thanks for having me. Well, I'll set up my slides. Yes. So as Sitcom is also starting mostly from a technology perspective, I will present another urban living lab case study, which is the Common Living Lab in Ghent. And specifically, I will present a way in which we have used and adopted AI to help us to do a qualitative impact assessment. I think a lot of us are also struggling with impact, with how to measure outcomes of all the actions that we do. And we discovered a way to also use AI to help us and to also decrease the workload, as normally these kinds of exercises, they require a lot of effort, a lot of manpower, but we were able to reduce that significantly. But at the same time, I will also present the Common Urban Living Lab, as I think that can also be relevant for all of you listening to this webinar, where we start from the challenges and where we try to bring expertise and technology to solve urban and city challenges. So I'm Dimitri Schurman, and indeed I have a couple of hats, a couple of roles. So mainly I work for IMEC and for the MICT University Research Group from IMEC, where we do mostly social sciences research. So we look at impact of technology, at co-creation, innovation, management, living labs. I also work partly for the European Network of Living Labs, where I'm responsible for research on living labs. So if you are, or if you know any researchers, feel free to put me to drop me an email, and you can also join our growing community of researchers. And I'm also a professor at Ghent University on strategic innovation management and open innovation, user innovation approaches. Basically, and I think we can all recognize this, we are confronted with so-called wicked problems. We also heard it in the previous presentation. So a lot of issues are linked. They are entangled, and there's no one solution to solve them all. Rather, we need to do multiple iterations, multiple tries to solve these issues in order to understand the complexity and the intricacies, combining them, and to find solutions that are able to connect certain elements of these solutions, trying to resolve or to diminish some of these wicked issues and problems. Typically, these problems are characterized by multi-stakeholder. A lot of stakeholders are involved, are affected, and also should be used and utilized during the solving process. And the third element is rapidly emerging technologies. Today, we are discussing mostly AI. And as we already heard, AI can be a solution, but as well, AI can also bring some extra challenges with it. So this makes the problems or the issues even more, I would say, more complex, more intertwined. So, and this requires approaches to tackle this complexity and to tackle these wicked problems. So the first thing to do is to evolve from a triple helix model, where we have traditionally collaboration between public sector, private sector, and higher education. And we extend this. We also add civil society to come to so-called quadruple helix innovations. And we see Living Labs as quadruple helix organizations that explicitly add civil society, citizens, as an essential helix towards or within this innovation process to come to more responsible innovation. And responsible innovation with which we mean that this innovation is being carried out, is being supported by all the helices and not by one or by only two or three, but by that all four can contribute and can have their own say in innovation processes. And second, Living Labs, what are Living Labs about? I will not go too much in depth, but by having or by adopting these principles of active user involvement, of co-creation, by adopting multiple methods, by being inherently multi-stakeholder, by orchestrating innovation processes, and by using a real-life setting. So we see a lot of parallels also with the sitcom initiative. We try to come to responsible innovation, but also innovation where we involve all these stakeholders and where we use these principles to come to potential solutions. But how can we navigate this complexity? And how can we also link these different elements? The previous question about how to see the bigger picture, I think Living Labs, and especially urban Living Labs, can be an answer to that, to connect a more strategic layer where you have a more future-oriented side on what are my goals, what are my ambitions for the years to come, towards having tactical choice of your projects and then operationalize these projects. How am I going to engage with all these stakeholders, with all these citizens, and how will I come to effective solutions? And I think Living Labs can help to navigate this complexity because in a way they are at a strategic layer. A Living Lab is an organization that orchestrates different actors and different stakeholders. So it's a very good example of open innovation, of knowledge exchange between different actors. Within the Living Lab projects, we do multiple methods and real-life experimentation, and we use the principles of user innovation. And we co-create and we co-design with the different stakeholders, with the different end users to come to different innovations and to different solutions, to first investigate the problem and then come up with different solutions and test them in real life. If you want to know more about this, we wrote together with the colleagues from ENoLL, we wrote this nice booklet, which gives you an insight into the origins, developments, and future perspectives of Living Labs, and also a lot of practical examples. But also, to not make this too theoretical, I will now give an example how we deploy and how we operationalize this Living Lab concept in practice in the city of Ghent. And the initiative is called Common. The Common Living Lab is already established 4 years ago. So we already had 4 innovation cycles. Some of the content here is about the healthcare cycle. And the main topic or the main learning that I want to share with you is how we did the impact assessment of this healthcare cycle. Where did we have positive impact and positive elements, and what are elements that we can improve in the future cycles? So we have strategic ambitions of the Common Living Lab to improve the city life for the citizens and the stakeholders within the city of Ghent. And we operationalize that in yearly projects in which we look to solve these city challenges that come up bottom up. So the slogan is together we can make Ghent an even better place. And we are also since last year awarded or labeled as an URBACT best practice. And I also put in the link and you can check it out if you are interested. So what does our ecosystem look like? Basically, Common is a collaboration between the city of Ghent, between the IMEC Research Institute, between Ghent University, and between the library De Krook. On this picture, you can see the library De Krook, where we also have our offices from Ghent University and from IMEC, but also De Krook, it's not only a library, it's in fact an innovation hub where a lot of public gathers daily. On a daily basis. There's more than 3,000 visitors, but also we have places where we can demonstrate, showcase, and test innovation. So it's really a real life hub where we can have all kinds of co-creation, testing, and experimentation activities. I also brought a short video to show you what Common is all about. And normally it should also share the sound. If you can't hear anything, please give a shout.
Gent is een stad met torenhoge ambities. Want het kan altijd beter, vinden niet? Sinds 1817 kun je hier komen denken en durven. En hier, in de krochten van de krook, ligt een bijzondere plek verborgen. Kom maar. Het is hier te doen, hè? Hier werken ondernemers, experten, onderzoekers en bricoleurs allemaal samen aan stadswijzigingen. Allee, aan veranderingen die onze stad nog wijzer maken.
Innovatief zijn zit in ons Gents DNA. Diep te horen sleutelen we aan een betere stad. En onze inwoners spelen daar altijd een belangrijke rol bij.
Om een slimme stad te zijn, hebben we wijze mensen gelijk jij nodig. Ja, jij. Zie jij de lamp al branden als anderen nog in het donker zitten? Of zij iemand die het altijd goed kan uitleggen?
Ik ben zelf hartpatiënt en ik vind delen van mijn verhaal belangrijk om anderen te kunnen helpen om zich minder alleen en geïsoleerd te voelen.
Common is een open laboratorium voor mensen met en zonder diploma. Met veel of weinig tijd, want in iedereen zit een uitvinder.
We babbelen met de mensen om te weten waar zij van wakker liggen. En met die uitdagingen gaan we aan de slag om oplossingen te bedenken.
Eerst willen we uitvissen wat er in Gent beter kan. Allee, waar krijg jij of uw buurvrouw grijs haar van? Dat kan de uitdaging zijn waarop wij ons gaan smijten. Niet neuten en niet pleuien. Tijd om de koppen samen te steken. Wij brainstormen onze weg naar maakbare oplossingen. Dingen die echt marcheren, moeten een meerwaarde creëren. Dus als we het kunnen maken, durven we onszelf ook afvragen, willen wij dat wel?
En we zijn dus met ons idee aan een mini-proeftuin begonnen, waar dat we van dat idee tot een concreet prototype gekomen zijn. En dat prototype hebben we dus vandaag kunnen testen bij een breed publiek om te zien wat er aanslaat.
En zo doen we dat bij Common. Hier kunt u wij kwijt, iets bijleren, toffe mensen leren kennen, nieuwe technologieën in elkaar knutselen en zo de stad nog wijzer maken. Want de stad van morgen kunt jij mee komen maken. Bij Common.
So this gives an overview of how we approach all these things. So summarizing, so this cycle was about how we can make healthcare understandable for everybody living in Ghent. So we start from a challenge that is being supported by the different stakeholders from the city of Ghent, and then we go in depth. We make this more concrete. So you saw the boats, so also it's important we do this kind of multi-stakeholder and multidisciplinary exploration workshops. We try to make it a bit fun. So we did it here on the boats, where we were 1 hour making a tour around the Krook. Also, the advantage is people cannot get off, so we really have them for 1 hour, and they're obliged to exchange, but this gives a lot of creative exchanges in setting concrete and practical challenges that can be tackled regarding the main topic. And then we employ some futurist techniques to make these challenges more concrete. We also go and visit the citizens to make to gather more ideas and more concepts. And then I think one of the main things, we have some kind of make-a-thons. It's a hybrid between a design sprint and a hackathon, where we design or where we put together multidisciplinary teams that co-design solutions for the different challenges that we collected in the previous phases. This leads then to certain pre-entrepreneurial ideas that we then support in next stages. We have an experiment cafe where people can test and experiment with the prototypes that resulted from these hackathons. And then we connect them also with entrepreneurial support from the local Gentian ecosystem. This was the evaluation that we made of the previous cycle. But as you can see, it doesn't say that much. It gives some numbers. It shows that we were able to connect a lot of people, that we were able to connect a lot of stakeholders, that we had a lot of activities. But one of the questions that we still had, but what is now the actual impact on the ecosystem on a more qualitative level? How did we really make a difference for these different stakeholders? And what could be improvements towards our process and towards the way in which we approached our projects and our Living Lab activities? That's why we developed this model. It's called the Living Labs Assessment Method. We co-developed this also with people from the city of Ghent and with people from IMEC and Ghent University. And we abstracted these 6 dimensions that we, from now on, always take along when we do impact assessments in these more complex environments. So one is, of course, real solution generation, to which degree we were able to generate actual solutions. One is also agenda setting. If you do these kind of projects for 1 year, things or topics can move up on the agenda of the city or of other policymakers. Knowledge capacity, you are able to increase the knowledge of the different stakeholders that are involved in your Living Lab. Skill capacity means that these kind of initiatives can increase the skills of the people who are involved and who participate in the different activities. Instrumental capacity means that these kind of initiatives can help you realize your own goals, so that you use the network, that you use the Living Lab to also realize your own goals, so that it gives you some extra capacity to do that. And network capacity, of course, means that these kind of initiatives can be interesting to increase and grow your own network of stakeholders, your own network of people that you know, organizations that you know, and that you can possibly collaborate with. So these 6 dimensions we assumed can have a positive impact, or we can have a positive impact on these 6 dimensions. So we try to operationalize this, and we try to survey this within the people who were involved with the last cycle. Of course, you saw a lot of activities, a lot of people were involved. How can we make sense of this very big heap of data? And also, how can we gather specific data? So the first thing that we did, still quite classical, I would say, impact research. We did in-depth interviews. So we collected all observations and field notes from all the activities, but also we did in-depth interviews with 11 key informants who were part of the whole trajectory. But then we did something specific. We used the common footprint to analyze this. And first, I will give some of the results. So based on the network, what did we find? Common is able to connect the dots, is able to build bridges. Common is able to create space, triggers, collaboration. And one of the questions is, how sustainable is it? So it is able to generate a temporary network of people that connect intensively. But the question or the challenge is, how can we sustain this network in the future? So these are outcomes of the last cycle of Common. Based on skills, you are able to learn something. You, from child to researchers, so we involve students, we involve children, as well as experts. So we really try to bridge this gap and try to involve everyone. You're never alone when you're thinking. It's always in a collaborative and co-creative mode. And we have specific methods labs in which we learn people certain skills and certain methods. Knowledge is seen, Common is seen really as a knowledge hub where you can navigate existing knowledge, and where complexity and in-depth knowledge are still a challenge. So it's able to connect different knowledge from different user groups, from different stakeholder groups, but there's still a challenge in having more complex new knowledge and more in-depth knowledge on certain topics and certain problems, issues, and problem domains. In terms of instrumental capacity, Common strengthens and reinforces existing ambitions. It also enables ecosystems, and the more you are involved, it appears that the higher the return is. So people really heavily involved have a bigger return in terms of instrumentalizing their own goals and their own ambitions via the Living Lab. And in terms of agenda setting, Common is able to put complex topics on the agenda. It's aligning and catalyzes some of these topics. But there's still a bit of question, how do you deal with expert opinions, with expert topics versus citizen topics? So this is still a work in progress, how to balance these needs and how to balance the ideas of these different user groups. In terms of solutions, it stimulates early entrepreneurship. Question is, do we go deep enough? Do we go far enough? But to our knowledge, also the journey is the destination. So the fact that these collaborations are made seem to be more important than the solutions themselves. Some of the solutions maybe will scale, but it's the learning process that matters the most. But how do we get these results? This seems the work of a very long and intensive co-creative and analytical process. In fact, we got that in a few days because we developed an AI-powered impact assessment methodology. Of course, you need to do these interviews, you need to collect field notes, you need to collect and gather all the data. But what did we do? We first recorded, of course, the interviews via Teams. But then we used the first AI tool, which is called Whisper. I also added a link to it. It's powered by OpenAI. And it's basically a test. It's not a test, sorry, that's a typo. It's a text-to-speech where it transcribes your interview. Of course, the pure transcripts, it's still a bit messy because you cannot distinguish who is talking, and you really need, of course, to attribute the different statements to the different speakers. There you have this ENoLL app, which helps you to segment and attribute the text and the statements to the different speakers so that you can know which text and which soundbite or which piece of information comes from which expert. Then we use deep reasoning on all the collected content to make more sense of it. Then we did an analysis based on this value fingerprinting model. So we used the 6 dimensions and we asked sub-questions for all of these dimensions. So we queried all this data via AI to see what are how does these dimensions, are they reinforced or not, and what are positive elements, what are qualitative elements that support some of these elements, and which are things that can be improved in later stages. And then at the end, after this analysis, we did a synthesizing of all these findings to make the synthesis, which I just presented to you, which is basically an AI synthesis of all the data that we had. And these queries of the final 3 steps were done via ChatGPT and via Copilot with dedicated prompts. And this is what the results look like. So you see here analysis of the different elements, and then you see concrete statements that support this analysis. And this is all done by using AI, by using LLMs and other AI tools. And it really helps to decrease the load on the researchers and to really go and move faster and do this kind of impact assessments. So if you want to know more, I also included a link. And this also links up with our research ambitions, because at our research group, the future of our research is in systems thinking. So we really think that impact assessment and impact of urban living labs and other participatory approaches and on systems and on different stakeholders is really the way to go. So we really invest a lot of time and energy into doing these kind of impact assessments. Design thinking and inclusive design is also one of our core topics, and also futures thinking and design for futures. How can we also incorporate this more strategic long-term thinking to and translate that to concrete operational actions? So that was my talk. So if there are any questions, please shoot.
Thank you, Dimitri. I don't know if we have questions from the audience or if you were super clear and no one has questions. But, well, I have one question actually, which is probably a bit off topic, but still I'm curious. Which were the results about let's say I mean, you had a lot of stakeholders involved, really a lot. So my question is, which were the results that the AI generated about the stakeholder engagement and how to keep them engaged in the long term? If you already have any insights or I don't know, just this is just my curiosity because it's one of the main challenges for living labs, as we know.
But what we do is that we, by having, let's say, this yearly cycles, we have certain events that reoccur every year. So we try to invite and keep close this community of stakeholders, which is ever growing and increasing, to come to these events where we present some of the results. So it's in fact a bit of a combination between really very high intensity, active, co-creative events where we have fewer people engaged, but where we try to involve experts according to the topic. And then we have more broader events where we present the results. So we try to engage them via these events. And it's still based on intrinsic motivation. But of course, by the choice, we really take a lot of time to choose the new topic, the new direction, the new theme of the yearly cycle, is to hope to motivate people to incorporate their daily work inside the topic. So the idea is that you also benefit by doing things that are not completely outside of your daily business, but that also link up with your daily business. So it's a very difficult but rewarding thing if you can find the balance that people put things in the network and receive as much or even more in return. That's the struggle and the goal that we have, but we are more and more able to meet that.
Great, thank you. Okay, and now I'm happy to leave the floor to another Living Lab, Gate City Living Lab from Sofia, Bulgaria. Kaloyan, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I'm sharing the screen now. Just tell me whether you see everything.
Yes,
yep.
we do. Thanks.
All right. So my name is Kaloyan Karametov, and I'm an urban planner. So I come from the planning background. I've participated in many urban data analysis, transportation planning, and I've been involved in a lot of policy and strategic development, especially in the city of Sofia, as long as other places. In Gate Institute, I lead the City Living Lab, so I'll present to you how we use technology, AI, and other actual tools for developing the city digital twin of Sofia, which is one of our biggest projects that we work on in the institute. So a brief introduction about the urban digital twin. Many of you probably know what it is, but as a description, but how it works is maybe not that actually clear, because we can see this beautiful diagram with the theoretical parts of it. Like we gather the data, we use this data for analytics, and then we propose actions, and we assume these actions will change the physical environment, and then we'll use sensors and other data sources to gather again the data and then go into this circle. Of course, this is way more difficult than this scheme represents, because there are a lot of systems that work together in one city. So for creating urban digital twin, we need to focus on every of the different systems that actually comprise the city. And I will start with some of the infrastructure that we have in Sofia. We have over 100 sensors installed on site. In Lozenec district, we decided to focus the installment of these sensors only in one district, but it's a very, let's say, narrow and long district, and it covers diverse urban areas. It has a compact urban neighborhoods in the north part of the Lozenec district. Then we have newer or modernistic developments from the 60s and 70s, which are like have more public spaces between the buildings. And in the southern part of the district, there is a new development that is happening in the last 20 years, and it's let's say not regulated very well. So we have a big variety of urban environments. That's why we decided to install the sensors only in one district, because it represents the whole city of Sofia. We have around 50 sensors counting pedestrians, 60 sensors counting noise, and 12 air air quality stations that also have noise sensors in them, and we have a LiDAR station, 6 LiDAR sensors comprised in one LiDAR station at one of the busiest intersection in Sofia. So you can see this on our web portal. You can check the data if you like. And these are some of the use cases that we work on and that we've put our efforts during the last maybe 3 or 4, even 4 years. We apply this research in the urban planning and design, and we do air quality modeling and prediction based on the data that we gather from our sensors, as well as data from other sources. The municipality of Sofia has network of also network of sensors, and the Ministry of Environment also has a few sensors installed in Sofia. And we also do noise propagation analysis based on the data that we have from our sensors. So these are different topics of research, as well as urban heat island in Sofia. And just to mention it, the center of Sofia is 4 degrees warmer than the outskirts of Sofia, and we're analyzing this, and like the outcome is we're trying to prove it, and to prove the effect of the urban heat island effect of the environment, of the built environment, of the buildings and the transportation infrastructure. So we propose measures for this as well. I will stop in more details for some of them, just to give you overview of the use cases that we work on. So we do CFD simulations. You can see this is part of thousands, and the red building here at the middle is our building of Gate Institute. So we've developed these wind simulations to see how the wind is flowing across the city and between the buildings, and how the buildings actually change the wind and change the dispersion of the wind and the air. And we have done this in not only about our building, but also in the city center, where there are a few high-rise buildings, and we can see how they affect the overall flow of the wind. We have created not only the digital model of this, but we have also created physical model, and it is currently tested in a wind tunnel in Twente, with the collaboration with Twente University. So we use their wind tunnel as because we don't have such in Sofia, and we collaborate with them on the physical model. We do this because we know that the digital models are important, but they need to be calibrated with physical ones, and that's why we put effort into this physical modeling of this area of the city center of Sofia. And we did this because there is we can analyze the wind flow, but we want to tailor this to the wind comfort of the pedestrians on the level of the terrain. Maybe in the summer it will be good to have to be nearby high-rise building. You will feel much cooler, but during the winter maybe this will not be a good idea. So we try to tailor this analysis to the citizens' perspective. Another analysis that we did is the solar potential of the buildings. We analyzed the buildings, their height and their orientation, as well as how the sun is putting the light on the buildings. And we did also a solar potential analysis only of the rooftops of the building. We analyzed whether a certain building and certain building's rooftop is suitable for photovoltaic system installment. And we try to transfer knowledge from other city and use the model that was created for a city in the Netherlands. But we really it really helped us not to start from scratch, but we needed to tailor the model to our specific context and to train it with a data set with our current buildings and our current rooftop types that were quite different than the ones in the Netherlands. I can say that in Sofia we have big variety of rooftops. They're not that strictly standardized as these one in Netherlands that needed the additional data set training for this specific model. We also did an analysis of the energy consumption of the buildings. We did this using the different functionality type and extent of the buildings and how many square meter it is. And we are now in the process of negotiating to get an access to the actual consumption of the energy of the buildings with the utility companies. So we want to get at least a sample data for it to try to see whether our model, the predictive model, is relevant to the current and actual consumption that is happening in these buildings. And this is actually a video from our lidars at the intersection of Hendrik Ibsen and Černý boulevards in Sofia. We have these lidars that are scanning the objects that are passing through the intersection. So we use this point cloud technology to see what is happening at this intersection. And yeah, you can see the recognized objects, but there are a lot of objects, maybe not a lot, but there are certain objects that were not properly classified. And we use also AI here, helped us, and machine learning models. For example, this was a reinforcement model for reclassifying again the objects that passed through the intersection that were unknowns. So based on their trajectory and position in the intersection, we try to reclassify them again so we can know the full scope of the objects that pass through this intersection. We use this to model scenarios for redesign of the intersection in order to improve the traffic flow. So we tried different scenarios, and here on the right you can see one with a roundabout without traffic light system, just a roundabout, and it showed the best results. So we've presented this to the city of Sofia, and if they have a budget or they have a plan to invest in redesigning this intersection, we can prove which one of the intersections that we've modeled is the most efficient one. Another topic of our research is the supply demand of urban amenities. Here you can see the kindergartens in Sofia. This is in connection to the 15 minutes city concept. This probably most of you are familiar with this concept that around every residential building there should be a certain type of amenities that prove the quality of life is high level in this city or in this neighborhood. And one of these amenities is the kindergarten. So we try to go from the other direction. From every kindergarten, we used this network analysis to see how many residential buildings are actually around this building and how many kids live there. We don't have the actual data for the kids that live in every building, but we've used a semantic data based on the building size and the demographic structure of this neighborhood. So we can clearly see that, on the left you can see the city center of Sofia that has relatively small amount of kindergartens, and the kindergartens cover like maybe half of the buildings. And on the right side you can see a neighborhood that has been developed in the 70s with very strictly planned infrastructure, social infrastructure to serve these residential buildings. And we did this analysis for the whole city of Sofia to see which buildings are left without any service. Another topic is the walkability index. We did this on 2 levels, on neighborhood level as well as on building level, again based on city 15-minute city concept to see whether certain areas are served by public amenities. We created a score for this index. You can see we've divided the amenities into 15 groups, I'm sorry, with 8 groups with different weights in it, and every group has a subgroup in it. So it's like more complicated than this slide, but I'm not going to go into details. But you can see one neighborhood, how it is assessed based on the different groups, and then we have the overall quality of the neighborhoods assessed based on the accessibility index. And because all of this analysis and research and models that we don't do it only for ourselves. We do it with in collaboration with our partners in the Planning Institute of Sofia, with the Urban Mobility Center, with Sofia Municipality, also with NGOs that are working in Sofia, specifically policy-making NGOs. And we developed different research methodologies based on conversations and events that we create together as a co-creation workshops and validation of the results that we've analyzed or that we've see as an outcome, but also in the initial phase of the problem definition and where to put our efforts and expertise in. And this is a screenshot of the hackathon that we organized for 2 years in a row, and we are planning to do it third one this year. And it is AEC, short from Architecture, Engineering and Construction, but it's we have extended it to urban and GIS also hackathon, and we try to build the bridge between the let's say the construction companies and the planning companies that are still behind in their technological development and the IT sector in Bulgaria, which is very developed in the last 10, 15 years. And we see the big difference between these two sectors, and we want to try to connect them and provide an environment for this connection. So that is for me, and thank you for the opportunity to present, and I'm open for questions.
Great, thank you, Kaloyan. So we open the floor for questions to any of our speakers today. And while you think to your question, I have a couple of questions to Kaloyan actually. And the first one is practically, how long did it take to you to build the digital twin? So how long was the process? And second question, previously Tamara was talking about different type of challenges that cities face while dealing with AI, so like technical or like policy or related to policy or to GDPR or to trust from the citizens. So I was wondering which one was the main challenge for you in the context of Sofia, of course.
Yeah, so on the first question, the development of the digital twin is an ongoing process because we want to model the different systems, and we started with the buildings because we get access to the data, to the cadastral data of the buildings and the lots and their planned development. So we started with this basic 3D model of the city, and then we started to started enriching this data with other analysis that we have done and we have created in Sofia. So it's a process that is like block by block. We are extending it with new data sets, and let's say that we have put a lot of effort in the initial phase, like 3 years ago, in the air quality predictive model of the city. That's why we not only installed our own sensors, but we gathered the data from other sources, and then we combine these data sets to create the predictive model. Of course, this is something that is in development, so we are constantly looking at new methodologies, and now currently we're working on air quality model, and we want to see and actually to calculate how much of this air quality in Sofia is changed by the urban form. So the urban morphology, the position of the building and the density of the buildings in Sofia, how they actually influence the dispersion of the air in Sofia. So this is something that we currently work on, and we want to create this methodology and actually to try it in other cities. So this is one of the models. Another model is the ones with the solar potential. That's why I showed you the example that we started with statistical analysis and models that are let's say they use approximation for the energy consumption, but we want to validate with an actual data from the utility companies. And with this, I'm transferring to the second question: what is the biggest challenge? Well, probably the biggest challenge is really the access to data, because there are a lot of different actors that are working in the urban environment, and really gaining their data sets is not that easy. And we work on this with them. We want to create an environment for, let's say, a more environment where the companies could share their data in secure way. We started to work on the urban data space in Sofia, where every actor could have their own data and rights for their data, but they can have certain rules for sharing. And this is something that we work on, because if we want to do a proper analysis and create realistic scenarios for development, we need data for this. And this includes a lot of talks and negotiations and partnerships to be established in order to to get the necessary data.
Amazing. Thank you. We also have another question for Lotte or Jessica. Dani, do you want me to read it, or?
Well, basically it's for the use, because you presented that you want to expand in the next 5 years, and I was wondering, because you're already collaborating with the municipality in Eindhoven, what are the collaborations that you need to establish in order to expand nationally? And maybe I didn't get this part. Is this application generating revenue for the organization?
Yeah,
I'm just wondering.
Yeah, thanks for the question. And yes, we aim to have collaborations in different cities, because we know that this problem of people lacking basic skills is not something only related to Eindhoven city. We understand that this can be found in different cities and different countries in Europe. So yes, we want to have this collaboration. We need to have spaces to make pilots, also share the data. So this is why we also are here. We would like to collaborate with partners. And yeah, about the revenue generating, we are still building this business model. So we are still working on that. But yeah, definitely something that we think it's a way to go. I hope I answer your question.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. I don't know if we have any other question from the other participants. Don't be shy.
There is a request from Emma for Tamara to share her resources. I think it was a very interesting presentation, so people are wondering where they can access this information.
We will for sure share all the slides and the recording afterwards. So you will also find there the contacts. Yes, Lotte. Tamara, I don't know if you want to add anything because I saw you. Sorry, if you want to add anything, Tamara. No, okay. No, Lotte, please.
No, I was just going to say I will send the slides to you, Michelle, and then you can distribute.
Yeah. Great.
I was curious, Dimitri, your common use case in the city of Ghent and the way you collaborate on indeed what you also call wicked problems, just like we do. I was wondering where you how you get your research, your inspiration. Where do you get your input from, or the other living labs you work with? How do you do that? So how did you came up with the practices that you shared with us, and where do you get your input, inspiration, and research from?
Yeah, good questions. I think it's also because we are in a lot of networks. So we, in fact, the Common was born out of a more living lab as a service approach that we had back in the days at IMEC, where we did this for SMEs and startups. But also there was a strategic shift, which also allowed or made us shift more towards the city as a stakeholder. Also, the Krook, I think, was a catalyzing effect because it was a new building, a new library, new opportunities. So we started from, okay, how can we use this as a collaborative space? And how can we also involve all the stakeholders? I think that was the basis. And we used or we reused our old methodologies and repurpose them in this new space. But I think the main thing is that you really start from your local capacity, from the local stakeholders. What's in it for them? So you start from, let's say, a generic set of tools, and then you repurpose them together with your stakeholders. What is everybody able to do? What are the different ambitions? And it's by having multiple cycles, that's also what a living lab makes it stand out than having separate projects, is that you learn every time. And also, and when I talk about external inspiration, of course, via the European Network of Living Labs, which we are also a founding member, we get a lot of international inspiration on events like these, but also on face-to-face events like the Open Living Lab Days, which are coming up in October. There's plenty of room to discuss, to engage, and we see these as really to put our methods, let's say, to the test by talking to others, by comparing, and by learning. And I think it makes sense. We are not competing. We're, I think, trying to achieve the same goals. So having this kind of open knowledge exchange, we're still looking for the right models to having this more structural. We tried to do it via the Urbex network, but as we are not a city ourselves, it was hard to really get a transfer network up and running. But we are looking for practical approaches and initiatives where we can foster these exchanges and maybe have some subsidies also to do this. But we are very open to collaboration. So if you see any opportunities, I'd love to do so, because I think a lot of us, not the super big cities, but let's say the medium-sized cities, there's a lot of them, and not a lot of the funding models are always directed towards them. So I think we should find some ways finding these collaborations.
Thank you, Dimitri. Very helpful. Yeah.
Great. Yes, please, Emma. Emma, we can't hear you if you are speaking. If you are not, the floor is yours. Mm. Mm. Some technical issue.
I think it's not working. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe you can type the question, Emma.
Exactly. If you want to type. Tamara, thank you so much for your participation and contribution. Very
You're
insightful,
welcome.
I would say.
Exactly.
Thank you. Bye, 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 bye. Here we are. How does the city history affect the digital transformation of the city? I don't think
if I quickly reflect, and then maybe also Eindhoven can reflect. I think, yeah, a lot. Because within one of the cycles, a lot of these problems also link up with certain areas within the city. For example, we had one with loneliness of elderly people, and there we really have old apartment buildings where people are literally stuck. So I think the history has a big impact on the start of some of the issues, on finding some stakeholder groups or some existing initiatives, but then you need to take them one step further, and you try to up the ante or take them up a notch by collaborating and by connecting different initiatives, because a city is a living ecosystem. A lot of things are already happening. I think that's also a mistake that's being made, that you start from scratch. I think a lot is already there, but you need to tap into the existing capabilities, existing initiatives, and try to connect them. So I think the city history has a really, really strong influence on the transformation of it. But of course, you also need to look further and try to look into the future and not stick in the past. So you need to be, I would say, you need to use the past, but not be limited by it. I think that's, if that's is an answer.
Yes, thank you, Dimitri. What I can add to that exactly is that the school and education of the youth will help also in understanding what's the digitalization, because what we see is that the youth is very good in gamification and using interactive apps. They are not used to do a phone call anymore. And it's also for us as a municipality, a city, and other organizations to react on that changing environment, how we communicate with each other. So it's several channels, several ways of communication, and that's how we have to learn and speak to each other. And that's why we have the strategy that we put the citizen in the center, so that we co-create with them and not before, not for them.
I think we are all aligned on this citizen-centric approach. Kaloyan, I don't know if you want to add anything or...
Yeah, I can just say that this is something that is actually the right way, because in Sofia we have examples where there is a redevelopment of certain squares, let's say, or gardens that are, maybe they look very good on the render, but they're not as functional as they used to be, or at least mapping of the current usage was not done before the redesign. So this is something that we're trying to show as an important step before actually making some investments. So yeah, asking the citizens and the users of the space could bring a better project design before actually doing something that is maybe beautiful but not useful.
Okay, I don't know if we have any other question. We are out of time. So if you have any doubt, you can just reach me or Danae, and we will find a way to answer your questions. And I thanks all the panelists of today. It was an amazing and insightful session, I think. We will share the slides and recording with you. And yes, have a nice lunch break, and we see the next time, or even better, in Andorra for the Open Living Lab Days 2025, of course, in October this year, with the fresh air, let's say. So thank you all, and we keep in touch.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.